Hello and welcome to the big picture. 4 days after the attack on Pathankot Air Base by terrorists suspected to have come from across the border, it is still not clear how many terrorists were there and whether all of them have been neutralized. The attack and the way it has got prolonged has led to many speculations and criticisms of the way the whole incident has been handled. While such incidents have been commonplace every time, there is significant improvement in the ties ever since the comprehensive dialogue began in 1997. The problem is that India has not been able to establish any standard operating procedure or a doctrine to deal with such crises or how to go about it following such incidents. So far, mostly it has been knee-jerk reactions and also depending on the nature of the governments in power. The attempt to create a powerful national counter-terrorism center was also stymied when then opposition party governments in the states opposed the UPA proposal. So, is it time for the country to have a standard doctrine? Also, we will see today how Pathankot and after is different from the past such incidents. To discuss this, I have with me Vivek Katju, former ambassador, Rana Banerjee, former Special Secretary RAW and a security analyst, Major General Sheru Thapliyal, defense analyst, and Manoj Joshi, senior journalist and distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Katju, yesterday we were discussing about this. You know, we focused on what happened exactly, but today if we can take it forward a little, you know, you think that these kind of incidents can happen and have been happening because of lack of some kind of a standard operating procedure or a doctrine to deal with these kind of situations?
I'm not quite sure, Girish, if there can be standard operating procedures in a situation where there is no definiteness. The fact is that because we've not been able to find an effective answer or response to Pakistani-sponsored terrorism, which has been going on for almost 3 decades now, the only option that we have is to call off talks. Now, it seems to me that this is the first time when Mr. Modi is trying to adopt perhaps a different approach. He has set up this mechanism of the National Security Advisors. The two met, as we know, in Bangkok. And after the attack at Pathankot, it is said, and I think it has been reported, that our National Security Advisor called his Pakistani counterpart. And yesterday night, the Pakistani Foreign Office, in its statement, said that that the leads given by India are being worked at. Now, and as we know that sometime today, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who is apparently on a visit to Colombo, called Prime Minister Modi to convey basically perhaps the same thing, that they'll take all this seriously, the information that we've given. Now, will this work?
Exactly. Will this work?
I don't know.
Will this work? You know, because we don't, sir, sorry to intervene. In the past, we haven't had these kind of situations where prime ministers have been talking to each other just a few days after this kind of an incident. So you think that there is some improvement in the way these things are handled now?
No, what I see is that that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif too has made an investment in this process with our Prime Minister, and that he wishes to pursue this.
Okay.
What is not very clear is where the army stands. Yesterday, if you recollect, I was making the point that it seems to me that our assumption that the army is on board in this process, which is now going on between the two countries, is perhaps not warranted, because there is no concrete evidence. So it's much too early. Yes, what is new is that one last point.
Yes.
That because Delhi has not issued anything official as yet, at least the External Affairs Ministry has not. I'm not quite sure what are the contents of our Raksha Mantri's briefing of the press from Pathankot, but because Delhi, the External Affairs Ministry has not pointed fingers at Pakistan officially till now, the Pakistanis have taken that as perhaps a sign of our moderation or reasonableness and have also not responded in kind. Let's not make too much of this at the moment. We've got to see where it goes, whether the army is going to cooperate.
As usual, you are being skeptical, Mr. Banerjee. Are you as skeptical as Mr. And he says that the only option is to call off talks. That's what Mr. Katju said.
I would have...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Please don't put
No, you
words
said
in my
the
mouth,
only
please.
option in the past. You're talking of the past, is it?
In the past,
Okay.
I'm not saying it's the option which is there. I'm saying that was the only option in the past, which is a matter of record.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not call off the talks at present. Substantially, I agree with what Vivek has said. Going by past precedents also, whenever we have shared inputs, intelligence inputs, there has been very little by way of actionable evidence of action taken there to curb, such elements. So, the proof of the pudding would lie in the eating of it. So,
Sir, one second. Sorry, Tito. You're talking of actionable intelligence. This was one instance.
Yes.
There have been several such terror...
Several in the past.
In the past, but we have never had this kind of actionable intelligence as we seem to have had before this attack.
No, we have had.
You think that intelligence had been shared with Pakistan?
Yes. In the process which was set up in 2007 onwards for about 2 years, there were several such instances of actionable inputs being shared, but very little was done. In fact, they obfuscated the data and then the same voices came on different channels. That sort of thing happened.
You think the same thing happened this time also?
No, it may not. It may not. So we will have to see. That is why I said the proof of the pudding would lie in the eating. If there is, actionable, evidence of, incarceration of some of the Jaish bigwigs as a result, then this would be different. Now, about the Jaish, the resurgence of the Jaish, there are two views. One is that it's been allowed to happen from 2011 onwards.
Now we are hearing of JDA also. Not
Jamaat-ud-Dawa is different. Jamaat-ud-Dawa is the front of the Lashkar-e-Toiba. Lately, there have been some arrests of even recalcitrant JOD cadres in Sialkot and some other places who are believed to have, declared allegiance to the IS, and they have, amassed arms and ammunition which were arrested by the counter-terrorism unit of the Punjab police. So this is a new thing. Chaudhry Nisar Ali has been saying that a lot more such arrests are happening. Whether it's true or not, one doesn't know. But if the Jaish and some Lashkar elements, JUD elements begin to get touched, then that would be a start. Whether they are linked to instances or acts in India is a different matter. We'll have to see that.
No, but as far as this particular incident is concerned, the way it has played out in the last 4 days. Now, Mr. Katju says that there has been a conversation between the two prime ministers after this. You think that then there is something different happening here?
Well, as Mr. Katju said, Mr. Nawaz Sharif has invested a lot of personal capital in keeping the process and the relationship at a particular level. Whether the army in Pakistan is on board at the same level is difficult to, accept. Because earlier when the Lahore meeting took place and Nawaz Sharif took Modi to his home in Jati Umrah, I believed that he would have done this after, at least letting Rahil Sharif know about it. But I am a little more skeptical now, whether,
After the attack?
After the attack.
Okay. General Thapliyal, ever since, every time, in fact, when this kind of an incident happens, we are told, we are constantly, at least from the Indian side, we feel that, the experts, people who are sitting here and also otherwise, feel that the Pakistan army and the civilian establishment are not on the same page. But as Mr. Banerjee was pointing out, maybe when Prime Minister Modi went to Lahore to, they were on the same page. But now again, the same kind of suspicions have come up. How do we get to know that the Pakistan establishment, the civilian establishment and the army are on the same page? What are the how do we get to know it?
We will get to know only if the talks take place and something tangible comes out of it. But I have a feeling that nothing tangible, if at all talks takes place, nothing tangible is going to come out. That's my personal view. Whether talks should take place or not, that's for the government to decide. But my personal view is that we've been having talks over and over again, nothing has come out of it, and this time also nothing is going to come out of it. And it's a complete waste of time. Every time there's a terrorist attack, we make pronouncements that ईंट का जवाब पत्थर से देंगे, nothing happens. So the Pakistanis know it very well that nothing is going to happen. No retaliatory action will take place from India. So they don't care.
Okay. Manoj, do you see a difference in the kind of responses which we are witnessing now in the last 2-3 days after what has happened in Pathankot than from what used to happen in the past? One, of course, is there is a different government here in power. There were in the past, there were different kind of responses. You think that this is something new which is happening? Something yesterday, one of my guests were saying that the Indian public as well as the Indian media is evolving. Do you agree with that?
Not really. In the sense, from what I can make out, when the Mumbai attack took place in 2008, you had similar confusion. Meaning you didn't know who was in charge of the attack. Here again, we see we are not sure who's in charge of the counter attack. And we see sometimes this Delhi, they say NSA is masterminding the show. Then they say that the Western Air Command chief had been sent there on Saturday evening, on Friday evening. Now, then there's the base commander, then there's the NSG Major General. So I find that, doctrinally, I think
we'll come to the doctrine.
The issue of the doctrine. But I want to look at the bigger doctrine that we've had. Since 1990, the Indian doctrine has been that we will engage Pakistan, and all prime ministers have followed it.
Yes.
We will engage Pakistan regardless of what Pakistan throws at us, and we will develop a shield to protect ourselves. And keep on engaging Pakistan, because in that process we bring Pakistan to its knees, and we have been quite successful actually in that process. Now the problem is that this shield seems to be pretty battered, and it seems to be a pretty shoddy shield. You had people penetrating that border 5 times since September 2013.
Earlier we used to have these intrusions in the LOC, but now international border.
Well, that's what's called the working boundary international border, Jammu and Kashmir. So since September 2013, there have been 5 intrusions approximately in the same area out there. Secondly, when they reach the Air Force base, they're able to penetrate the perimeter. And I can't understand when you have a base as sensitive as that, and you had advanced information.
That is the point.
So what I'm trying to say is that your shield, so if you're going to have a policy of talking to Pakistan, engaging Pakistan, even while there are elements in Pakistan which are trying to disrupt the process, then I suggest that your shield should be much more effective. But yet we see time and again that shield turns out to be not that there is that you don't have the shield, but the problem is that the shield should be impenetrable, meaning your response.
Exactly, that is the point. See, one of the things which were said after the Mumbai attack was that developing this national counter-terrorism center and all, it never took off in the way it was supposed to be. Why did it happen, Mr. Banerjee?
Well, basically it got caught up in the fight between the center and the states, because policing is a law and order subject, and no political leadership in the state was willing to let any encroachment of their...
You think that the effect of that could be seen in Punjab this time? And the way the Punjab police could handle or did not handle the situation?
No, I don't know if that was the only reason. There were other reasons for the Punjab police lackadaisical response. And but the point is very valid that we must go back to a coordinated approach to national counterterrorism activity. And there could be ways found, consensus developed to overcome the reservation of the states on the federal point of view.
The problem is that every time something like this happens, it all depends on the political establishment, who is in power at that point of time, the opposition. There is no consistent strategy as far as this.
There should be now, and should be given high priority. Police reforms, the full hog to develop your homeland security to the level which Manoj mentioned. I mean, the shield should never be appearing to be battered. It should be made more and more strong, and topmost priority should be given to that.
But why has it not? The question is, why has it not been given?
I really don't know, but fund allocations are
Manoj?
promised.
May I?
I'll come to you, sir, 1 minute.
See, he spoke of the police reforms. See, it has to be a center state effort. And our weakest chink in our armor, and as was proved by Bombay 1993, when RDX was landed, Mumbai 2008, is the local policing.
Right.
Now, we simply are unable to get the basics of our policing right, because unless and until our policing is intelligence driven, even at the local Thana level, you're not going to be able to prevent these guys from coming in. There has to be a center state cooperative effort. I understand the point of view of the states. See, because on the NCTC business, you could not give the IB, which is a non-statutory body, police powers. I think that would have been a highly irresponsible move. But yet, the center should have come up with a more creative solution.
Exactly. The problem was that there were no creative solutions. The whole effort has now been completely stymied virtually. Yes, Mr. Katju?
You know, this concept of a shield, and Manoj said that our policy has been effective, that Pakistan has been damaged. Now, my own feeling is that Pakistan has done the damage. We haven't done any damage to it. Pakistan has damaged itself, but that's another argument. My basic point is that no shield can be fully protective or effective. What you need to have is an offensive-defensive strategy. What we've lacked is an offensive strategy because lack of clarity on Pakistan. As I was submitting to you yesterday, that Pakistan has complete clarity that India is an enemy. We don't have that. We don't know what Pakistan is. Therefore, we resort to cliches and platitudes.
Sir, 1 second.
That Pakistan is a neighbor.
Sir,
and you
1
can
second.
change friends, you can't change neighbors. Now, when I say offensive strategy, I don't mean a counter-terror.
No, sir, 1 second. 1 second. Let me put this question to all. In fact, I want all of you to respond to this. See, what is the terror doctrine? What is the terror strategy? Is India's anti-terrorism strategy essentially, Pakistan oriented, or should it be only Pakistan oriented? And if that is so, if that is the only major source of problem for us, why is it that we have not been able to develop a kind of a strategy to deal with these kind of situations? We have seen, as Manoj was rightly pointing out, the way the whole thing developed in Pathankot or from Friday till today, and the kind of confusion which is prevailing there now. Why do you think this has not happened?
May I venture an answer?
Please.
No, as I was submitting to you, our own coordination of different forces, central, state, etc., has to be much better. That goes without question. And experts, security experts and the political authorities have to devise a better system. The political class must reach a consensus, as must the security apparatus. But my point is more simple. It is, first of all, to answer your specific question, whether our threats are, cross-border threats are only from Pakistan, that's a fact. Yes, we have problems in the northeast, but the major threats that come are from Pakistan, because in the northeast, I don't think that there is any concerted effort by any neighboring state to foment trouble as Pakistan does. And therefore, our focus has to be on devising a counter-terrorism strategy, in particular in relation to Pakistan. And that can only be if you emasculate the Pakistan state, if they realize that they have a price to pay. They don't. The only price you have extracted from them is calling off talks. Has that been effective? No. They laugh at us. They say, कैसे हैं? अभी बात करनी बंद कर दी, थोड़े दिनों बाद, सालों बाद आके फिर बात करेंगे जब इनका गुस्सा ठंडा हो जाएगा.
Okay.
Now, that is our strategy. That is our doctrine. It simply won't work.
Okay. General Thapliyal, how do you look at this? Is that the way to go forward?
Yes. Yes, I agree in principle with Ambassador Katju. There is that a strategy or a doctrine which is Pak-centric needs to be put in place. That is the first thing that is to be done. And thereafter, these loopholes need to be plugged, at the fence and the border itself, how the BSF is performing there. then Manoj brought out a very valid point that our policing is most non-effective. They don't know what to do, how to do their job. Come again in the hinterland, when a terrorist strike takes place, somebody has to be in charge. And the only people who can do this job properly is the army. But unfortunately, to my point of view, there appears to be a turf war between the MOD and the MHA. And the MHA wanted the NSG to go, who are unsuited for this kind of a job. NSG is not trained to do this kind of a job. They are trained for anti-hijacking operations or fighting in the built-up areas and things like that, or hostage situation. This is what they are trained for. So they should have immediately called the army, any battalion, because they've been doing this in J&K for so long.
Right.
Every battalion of the Indian Army has been in J&K. And the army would have finished this business in a few hours' time.
Okay. That's interesting.
But
Manoj, would you
somebody
agree with
had
that?
to be in control. One man,
one second.
not three people who appear there.
Okay. Yeah,
No,
Manoj?
No,
because one of the striking things were that the army was not on the picture.
You throw a stone in that area and there's an army unit.
Exactly.
Okay, so there are that many army units in that area. So that's why I'm saying that on
So
the evening
this
of
lack of
Friday,
a doctrine, lack of a standard operating procedure. Which
no, but leadership
yes.
means, number one, if see, when you have a terrorist incident, you don't have time to think.
Exactly.
Okay, you've got to react immediately. So everyone must know who's in charge. This must be known pre-designated, meaning in every situation there must be a pre-designated. Everyone should know. In my view, the base commander, if that was under threat, the base commander should have been in charge. But here we are told that the Major General NSG guy had landed up. But I'm not sure.
The Punjab police, on the other hand, were not responsive to
the
the
NSG
kind
was
of.
only sent in after the attack began.
Yes.
The NSG was not there on Friday evening.
They were not.
The NSG
Though the meetings took place here
see,
about.
NSG was flown in.
Yes.
But the NSG deployment took place only after the attack began.
Right.
Now, you put the poor suckers of the DSC, which I find unpardonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
That retired people were made to front when you had trained soldiers. You had, as Sheru Thapliyal is saying, that you have enough army out there. Now, one report said 2 columns had been sent of the army. What did they do? So someone has completely misassessed the situation and had gotten it wrong, and we paid the price for that. Because in the sense, okay, your aircraft weren't destroyed, assets weren't, everyone's very happy with that.
Very exactly.
But 7 people died.
No, not just 7 people dying. The fact that a major airbase has been intruded so brazenly.
See, every life is precious, and the point is, look at that Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan. Now, in terrorism, every body is booby-trapped.
Yes.
How come the NSG, which is supposed to have sophisticated robos to defuse bombs, how come those weren't there in place? So, that means there's some operating procedure which is not functioning.
Mr. Banerjee? Has there been no effort ever since Bombay happened in 2008? Since 2008, it's 6-8 years now. Hasn't there been any effort to put together some kind of an operating procedure, some kind of a doctrine, as Manoj was pointing out, how to deal with this kind of situation?
No, there cannot be.
Who will command what at that point?
No, there cannot be a standard.
Command and control structure is lacking.
In a sense, yes, but standard operating procedure cannot be there in a terrorism situation. It will have to be a flexible response. But the general principles of chains of command, etc., should be observed. Like,
Did you see that being observed in Pathankot?
No, because I would have sort of relied on the station commander to be the man implementing the security and the cleansing out operations. And also I would have liked a much more direct role of the Punjab police at a higher level to come in, and the coordination should have been there from the state police. Instead, we have very high level, central bodies being brought in there, and then the change of command gets distorted. So this should not happen. Better coordination mechanisms should be laid down. But we have to go back to the basic issue of homeland security, that you hone up your policing mechanisms first. And in every state, particularly border state, the police should be the tool of first resistance, and it should be in a high state of alert, capability-wise, response-wise, every which way. So the allocation of forces, of resources, and implementation of decisions to have such state-of-art capabilities with the local police should be implemented on a priority basis.
Mr. Katju, yes, Mr. Katju.
No, I'm not an expert at these issues, but it seems to me that the police is essentially against crime. That is its primary role. Its primary role of the local police is not to take on terrorists.
On the issue
Now,
of
if we
terrorism,
want to create that role and give that role to be to the local police, we will have to go in for something entirely different.
Yeah, that's
Let's
true.
not forget
But,
that.
sir, but the problem was that
historically the police has a different function to perform.
absolutely no. I think you're
So,
right.
so to expect that here is a force which is against crime is suddenly turned into and trained into an anti-terrorist force
Can I
is
disagree
itself
with
to
you?
my mind
Absolutely
the
wrong.
idea
This
is
is
no,
not
one
correct.
second.
In today's day and world, investigation
No,
in
yeah,
crime
please,
is only one
Manoj, go
aspect.
right ahead.
Terrorism has to be a police job.
Okay, Mr. Kaj. No, but I want both of you to react to it. But my question is
Tackling
but-
of terror
no,
has to be a police job.
My question is this: that it has to be a police job, fine. But the National Counterterrorism Center, as it was envisaged originally, was supposed to deal with these kind of situations. But it was the state governments which said that our police will deal with these
Yeah,
things.
because
And-
constitutionally we have provided that policing should be a law and order function of the state.
Exactly.
So then we have to find
there's no there's no contradiction. The issue is that Mr. Chidambaram, he ran away with the agenda when it came to the NCTC.
Yes.
See, he didn't speak. Initially, if you see his initial speech,
he didn't
on-
take the states into confidence.
Yes,
That's
in that
one of the
NCTC
things.
speech, he even wanted NTRO, R&AW,
Yes.
everyone to get into NC. So he obviously had no idea of what it's all about. And subsequently, of course, it was whittled down. But he made that cardinal error in not getting these states along with him. And as I said, I would vehemently disagree with what Vivek is saying, because the point is that in today's era, where does the terrorist come in? Where does he live? Where does he shelter? And I've given the example of Bombay 1993, when RDX was being unloaded. Now, if the local police had been alert, they would have immediately.
They had no
gotten
idea what
onto it.
RDX was.
And there are, examples of unified command working effectively both in Kashmir and in the northeast. So unified command has worked.
They work.
Okay, yes, Mr. Katju. Final words. You can respond to what they said, but the final
Girish,
word.
it will take.
No, one
it
second,
will-
sir. I want you to address this also. One of the things which is being said about this whole incident and the Indo-Pakistan relations when it comes to these kind of incidents, following this kind of incident, is that there is a lack of transparency in the way the Indian government responds to it. You think that there is need for a better transparency?
No, of course there is. But the fact is that all governments make an investment in peace with Pakistan, and when there is a setback like Mr. Modi is facing now, they withdraw into a shell and try to cut their political losses. This has been seen time and again. I think the only pragmatic Prime Minister that we had in dealing with Pakistan who had no illusions was Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. He had no illusions about Pakistan.
Okay,
He
so-
said, "Ye chalega aur aise hi chalega." And
No,
let's
you-
deal with them as we can.
No, but
now,
sir-
but as far as the police is concerned,
No, but we'll keep the police thing aside. We don't have time, sir. So you think that the process should continue?
Okay.
The NSA level talks should continue. The foreign secretaries level talks should continue after what has happened.
no, my point is that talks by themselves are no answer.
Okay.
The talks have to be for a certain purpose. I think we sidetracked and we followed the Pakistani agenda when we took our eyes off the primary thing that we had agreed in
Okay.
UBA, which was to talk on terror.
Okay.
And this is now the time has come when that focus must be reactivated. So
Manoj?
talking on everything
I think
can take place at a later stage.
Okay,
Initially,
okay,
we want
okay,
to
sir,
talk
okay.
to Pakistan on terror.
Okay.
See,
Yeah.
once again, I disagree with Vivek. I think talk should continue. The very aim of this Pathankot incident, I mean, it's transparent what the aim was. The aim is to derail the process.
Exactly.
Now, if you're going to derail the process,
Come
you are
along,
only,
Manoj. This is
you're
a
only doing what the
frame
terrorists
process
want.
again and again and again for 30
I
years.
already
We'll be
said
going
the process
around.
of engagement should continue. It's another matter that terrorism, another round can precede the round of FS level talk.
Okay. General Thapliyal, very quickly, sir.
I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Talks serve no purpose at all.
Okay, sir.
And there is no requirement, but it is for the government of the day to decide.
Okay. Okay. I think on that note, we need to end. The panel is divided. into talks and no talks. Anyway, it's now up to the government of India. How the government of India will respond to this is something which we'll all keep a close watch on. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture, same time tomorrow.